Galileo Galilei was born in Pisa, Italy on February 15, 1564. Galileo was the first of 6 children. In 1572, his family moved to Florence, where he began studying for priesthood.
He first went to school to become a priest, but in 1583, he changed the University of Pisa to change it to medicine. Throughout his time at the university, Galileo was very indecisive about what he wanted to do, but it never ended up mattering because he eventually had to leave the University of Pisa without getting his degree because of financial difficulties with his family.
After Galileo left the university, he continued to study on his own. While on his own, he published The Little Balance, which described the hydrostatic principles of weighing small quantities, and he developed a new science called the study of the strength of materials.
Galileo worked on how to back this newfound science. His experiment with cantilever beams best demonstrates his discovery that the braking force on a beam increases as the square of its length. Galileo discovered that as the length of a beam increases, the strength decreases, unless one increases the thickness of the beam at the same rate.
Here the beam, represented by a stick, is too long, therefore too weak to hold the weight. Here the beam is the same length but doubled in thickness. The beam can now support the weight.
Galileo's book, The Little Balance, gave him a teaching job at the University of Pisa in 1509. There he published his manuscript, Du Monceau, on motion, which critiqued Aristotle's teachings on falling objects and motion. Galileo developed an arrogance, and he critiqued Aristotle all the time, which caused him to lose his job at the University of Pisa.
In 1592, Galileo got a job at the University of Padua, teaching geometry, mechanics, and astronomy. In 1604, he published the operations of the geometrical and military compass, showing his experimental skills. Galileo refined his theories on motion and falling objects. He developed the universal law of acceleration, which all objects in the universe obey. To prove this, he climbed to the top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa and dropped 2 balls of different weight. If they landed at the same time, his theory was right. We reenacted this experiment and proved that his theory was correct. After proving Aristotle wrong with this experiment, Galileo began to openly express his support of the Copernican theory, again going against Aristotle. The Copernican theory is that the Earth and other planets, represented by Calvin, revolve around the Sun, represented by Kelsey. Aristotle and the Church believed that the Sun and other heavenly bodies revolved around the Earth.
In 1614, Galileo wrote a letter to his student explaining the Copernican theory and how it did not contradict biblical passages because the Bible was written from an earthly standpoint. Soon after, the Church asked him to never endorse or teach the Copernican theory, and he obeyed this for 7 years because he was a devout Catholic.